How many times have you started a Minecraft tips video only to realize it was made for Java? Why can't they let us Bedrock users know in the title? I just clicked on the 30 secrets video by Avamance, forgetting yet again that he uses Java. So I am making a reaction video testing all of his tips in Bedrock. There are tons of tiny little tips that are not shared between Bedrock and Java. So here are 30 facts about Minecraft tested for Bedrock users. The first tip had to do with boats and leads. So I think that's like an old Bedrock thing. But what I'm interested in is this whole villager business. Now that we've got our villager in a boat, let's see if we can drag it uphill. Come on, friend. And that's a no. Tip number 2 is all about using a boat to sneak through a friend's wall. So I hop in, I go through, I try and die, I hop out. Well, that's not so great. What happens if I hop in again? I try and die, I hop out. There also seems to be a point where you just can't get in the boat because it'll kill you. That's a nice safety feature. So I'm going to try a slightly different technique. This used to be a way you could see X-ray through walls. And what happens if I get in the boat? Well, I have a feeling it's going to be the same, but maybe... Oh, it's killing me. I'm going to be honest, y'all. If I really want to get into a friend's base that badly, I think I'll just break the blocks. For step 3, they named their boat. Let's see if we can name our boat in Bedrock. Get rid of that. Well, that seems like a good name. Let's see if it works. Yep, it worked. So that's fantastic. But why do I feel like this was less of a tip and more of a subscriber ploy? Well played, Avamance. Well played. Tips 4 through 8 are all about water. Let's see what's different between Bedrock and Java. I'll be honest, I thought this was a Java-only thing. So, to my great delight, we are able to pull water out of a 1x3 block. We can also do this style, no problem. Say though, the 4x4 block has a lot of advantages. The first advantage is that you can get your water from any of the source blocks. You don't have to remember which one you started with. Whereas on these, if you take it out of one of the sides, you've messed up the system. Now we'll see if we can use this diagonal system to fill a large area of water. Oh, that's satisfying. No matter what configuration you use, you cannot build an infinite lava source. In fact, there's not even lava there. It's still just in the corners. But luckily, there's other options for infinite lava sources in the game. We'll get back to that in a second. Tip number 5 was using kelp to make a water source. So this proves a little bit funky in Bedrock. First, let's start with our water source, and then let's put the sea pickle down as a test. The problem is, that sea pickle is already lit. In fact, the sea pickle just made that block a water source. Here, I'll show you a different way. If I remove my water here, there's still water there. You can see there's a water source block here. So that's kind of cool that both kelp and a sea pickle can make a water source. But let's talk about why this is important. And the reason it's important is for bubble elevators. So if I put my water source up here, I can put a sea pickle in and make one water source block, which is fine, but it's not really going to help you much with your bubble elevator. When you put your soul sand in, the bubbles look like they go all the way up. But if I hop down in here, I'm going to get stuck because it's only a single water source. The reason we use kelp instead of sea pickles is that we can grow the kelp up a long line, thus changing the flow of water into all water blocks. And then this is useful to make what's called a bubble elevator, which is really handy for mob farms or just getting up and down quickly. Tip number 6 is using a bucket of water to clear or terraform an area of all the plants. And it works really, really nicely. You can see that all the plants just popped off, and then let me wade and push back through here to pick up my water. That's annoying. But if I put down another bucket of water, I can clear those plants too. So as a slight improvement to the tip, I suggest you drop the water and then immediately pick it back up again. The water is still going to flow its full 8 blocks, leaving you a nice pile of flowers and seeds to pick up, but you are not going to get pushed around. Tip number 7, infinite water with 1 bucket and bone meal. Let's give this a go. So we have 1 bucket of water, and then we're going to bone meal the dirt underneath it. Oh, that's coral. That's cool. Let's pick up the water and see what happened. What have we got? Yep, we have 1, 2 source blocks, but it's definitely not infinite. I have done this about 5 times now with varying results every single time. But basically, you put the water here, you bone meal somewhere underneath here, so I can get my water back. And now you can see I've got 2 water sources here, but remember, I've got my water back. So now I can use it there, and now I have a true infinite water source. So if all you've got is 1 bucket of water, and let's just say you're in a desert versus being by this giant pond here, then you can use bone meal to make water source blocks and infinite water. Moving on. I was really fascinated with tip number 8, which is how to fill a large area with water. Now, I have my own method, but I really wanted to test out this ice. The idea here is that you build a wall like this, and you set up your ice in this exact pattern, and we're going to see if this actually creates infinite water. Looking good. Okay, last one. And ta-da! Look at that, infinite water source. Can I pick it up? I sure can. How about here from the edges? Yep, I sure can. Next test. Can a fish survive in it? Looks like the fish are having no problem. Let's see if it creates bubbles with soul sand. Let's see if I can float all the way to the top. Whoop, I sure did. Well, that's pretty cool. This is a great tip if you have a fixed space, like maybe an aquarium you're building. But what do you do if your space is a little weird shaped, or the depth is all different, or maybe you don't live anywhere near an ice biome? First, let's go ahead and pick up all this water. That's satisfying. So let's say your space is irregular, like maybe you're building a channel between 2 lakes, or you're creating a moat around your castle. How are you going to fill this shape with water? Place a layer of blocks that you have a lot of. Oh, I don't know, like let's say dirt, 1 step down from your top edge. Once you have a 1 layer, you can start filling it with water. And now that I know about this diagonal trick, I'm going to try that. Ooh, there's not much left to fill in. I like that diagonal trick a lot. Okay, now we have a smooth water source, and the next step is to break all the dirt. There you go, water all the way to the bottom. Let's test again with some fish and soul sand. Are the fish surviving? Oh, look at that, all the way down to the bottom. Nobody's getting hurt. Let's try with the soul sand. I don't see bubbles. Well, I guess if you want bubbles, you have to use the other technique. Or we can just get some kelp going. Whee! That seriously never gets old. Tip number 9, farmland. It is absolutely true, even in Bedrock, that 1 water source will irrigate up to 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks all the way around. It will even do these pesky diagonal blocks. And if you overshoot by 1 or 2, no problem. It will just dry up. So when you're putting a giant field next to a field, you don't place your next water block 4 from your first one. Nope. You get to place it 8. And that's going to irrigate the next field. Same goes in all directions. Wow, that's a fantastically big farm. Okay, while we wait for everything to hydrate, let's talk about these water sources. You can put upside down stairs in there, sure. I like to put slabs, and then I like to put a light source on top. This does a couple things. For one, it keeps the mobs at bay. Second, it's pretty. And then it's your choice. You can do a pumpkin like that, or the only problem with the torch is when you're harvesting, I have a tendency to also harvest the torch. But let's talk about some other options that aren't light sources. There's leaves. They waterlog and they don't affect the irrigation system. They're also quite pretty. There's also mangrove roots. Those are cool, and they're brown. So it's really up to you. With those, you cannot put a torch on. Oh, you can put a torch on top. Oh, well, how about that? You could put a torch on top. Oh, you can't put a torch on top of leaves. Well, there you go. Can I put a pumpkin on there? Oh my gosh, it lit up the water. That's so cool. Look at that. Moving on. Another solution is to put a half slab at the bottom. If the whole point is that you're tired of falling in your water source, well, with a half slab, you just pop right back out without having to do any jumping. Number 10 is how you plant your crops. Do you plant them all together, or do you plant them in rows? Let's do a quick test garden. This one's going to be all wheat. This one's going to be all beetroot. And this one's going to be all carrot. And then final, I'll alternate. Okay, everything's all planted. Let's give it 10 minutes and see what happens. We are 10 minutes into our monoculture versus polyculture test experiment. Looking around at the beetroot here, we've got 3 that have, gone into what is it the final stage? We have 1 harvestable wheat, and this just looks more bushy, looks more developed. So there you go. That's 10 minutes. We have more harvestable food in the polyculture than in the monoculture. But since we're going to get sciencey, let's talk about pollinators. On these handy slabs, why not put a beehive? By having bees fly over your crops, they pollinate even more. Thanks, bee. For the next tip, let's head into the Nether. The hellscape of the Nether, where lava is like water. Tip number 11. There is no water in the Nether. You can try and place it all you want, but you're just going to get steam particles. Bizarrely, ice works. You'd think it would melt, but it doesn't. A lot of people use this to make really fast boat rides through the Nether. Since water's no good in the Nether, let's take a moment to dry out those wet sponges I used earlier. That is a really fast way to dry out a wet sponge. But how about lava? How does lava act in the Nether? Tip 12. Lava flows slowly in the overworld and only extends 3 blocks away from the source. But don't worry, it will eventually catch other things on fire. Stay back, sheep. In the Nether, lava flows fast, so you want to get out of the way. It also travels a full 7 blocks before stopping. It still catches things on fire. So if you're digging a tunnel through the Nether like we all know we shouldn't, and you hit one of those random blocks of lava, immediately mine downward. There's no way you can back up and escape the lava. It runs fast like water. It also allows you to get really up close and go ahead and plug that hole and be on your merry way. Tip number 13 has to do with the sweetberry bush. Now, I'm pretty sure it has to have berries on it. It has to be, there we go. A fully growing, glowing sweetberry bush. So if I grow in this in creative, nothing is going to happen to me. Get exactly proportional. Okay, now we're going to drop straight down on this bad boy. And how do you do that in creative? Ready? Oh, well, I fell from a high place. Let's try that again. All right, we're going to try and make a whole little area. Make sure I hit at least one of these, right? Okay, this time I'm starting off in survival, and below me is my sweetberry bushes. Let's see what happens. Oh, I survived. Cool. Tip 14 is a reminder that you can duplicate armor trims. This is extremely useful, as some of them are super hard to find in the first place. The duplication recipe is 1 trim, a complementary block, and 7 diamonds. But not too bad, since we just stole those 4 blocks of diamonds from our friend earlier. But here is where we benefit in Bedrock. We have more complementary block options than Java. So here's the list. You can pause the video here if you like, or you could download my free 120 Bedrock resource guide from my Buy Me a Coffee account. Link is below. Tip number 15. We are halfway through our tips, and we are at the top of a very, very tall tower so that we can test the fall damage for different mobs. Okay, there's our spider. Hi. What happens if I drop you? Oh, you didn't die. Cool. And at level 20? You're dead. All right, so there's our skeleton. Yep, we're fine. Creeper? Looking good. Zombie. All fine. Whoop. I think you tripped on something down there. Level 24. Instant death. Except for when not. Does his hat protect him? "24 is not consistently killing these critters. Let's go to witches." My witch isn't even making it. Tip number 15 is all about fall damage. I'm not really sure what it gets me to know when they exactly die, especially learning that they die at such dissimilar rates. I know if you want to make one of those gigantic mob farms, you could make it so high that everybody dies, or you could make it a little bit lower so it's a one-hit kill. I think the critical number is more for the one-hit kill, which is one shy of their death point. But even then, you'll notice in your farms that sometimes they just die, and sometimes they don't. What I feel that I've really accomplished at this point is I have filled my little creative area with dangerous mobs. I'm not feeling very successful right now. Let's go kill some mobs. Okay, witches are really hard to kill. Sorry, cow. Tip number 16 and 17. As a reminder, this is a video reacting to an Avamance's 30 tips. He did this in Java. So 16 and 17 are both using a land command. So let's look. I don't know. If you know how to do these tricks, go ahead and leave a note in the comments. I'm interested, but I don't know how to do this in Bedrock. Since I can't replicate 16 and 17 from Avamance's video, I figure I'll show you a 16 and 17 of my own, but we got to go to the Nether. So let's get dressed. So my tips for 16 and 17 will be all about how to get the things in the Nether that will frankly make these guys really, really angry. So if you're in the Nether and you're surrounded by piglins, there is a surefire way to get into a chest. This is especially useful in something like a bastion. It's pretty simple. You put a funnel under the chest. They don't care. It really doesn't bug them at all. And then you get to see, ooh, look at all this good stuff I got. Wow. And then it's simple as breaking your funnel and going about your business. As for nether gold, there is just no way to get it out without making them mad. You can't even use silk touch. The only way to safely mine it is to build a barricade. Or I guess you could mine quickly and run away. Tip number 18. Hostile mobs do not spawn on a mushroom island. Or is it a mushroom field? Regardless, this should be a safe space. But I can tell you right now, I'd be very wary of that green stuff. I think mushroom fields are so cool. I even took my mom camping on one. I'll link the video below in case you want to check it out. Or on the topic of mushrooms, let's go to tip number 19. This is kind of cool. You cannot plant mushrooms of any kind in bright light, full light. This is a Bedrock thing as well. Instead, you have to find some darkness, which I think makes a lot of sense. So you can plant them in like a shade of a tree or underground, but there will be limits. So this is where the tree must end. Let's see. That was the extent of my tree. And just like in Java, mushrooms can grow on podzol, mycelium, and both of the nylium colors. Tip number 20 is bone mealing these guys. Look at that! What a giant mushroom! Haha! Those are so fun. So if you break the mushrooms with just your hand or with a tool, then you'll get mushrooms. A giant mushroom will drop mushrooms like a tree will drop saplings. But what's cool is if you use silk touch, then you get these really amazingly colored blocks that you can use for building. So now for one of my least favorite non-parody tips. Tip number 21, doors don't work underwater in Bedrock. You can even see around here that there is no blocking the water. I'm not even going to bother to be in survival mode for this. I know it doesn't work. I'd like in the comments how many people died trying this tip because a Java video told you it worked. I know I did, but this is a Bedrock guide, so I don't want to leave you hanging with underwater breathing. You can carry around a magma block, or you can find a magma block underwater. And if you crouch on the magma block, your bubbles will refill, and you can go about your business. This won't help you with mining. You're going to need an enchanted helmet for that. Tip number 22 is wolves and skeletons. Let's see what happens when we let these wolves go at the skeletons. Yep, even in Bedrock, wolves are not fond of skeletons. Okay, let's check the cat versus creeper concept. I know that cats are used in a lot of creeper farms. So what happens here? Do they run from them? Well, they seem very interested in me. But I wouldn't call that running from a cat behavior. Yeah, that's not scaredy cat behavior over there. Is this one debunked? I kind of liked the idea of this one. Tip number 23 is all about using your mouse to click on a block and it'll load into your hotbar. I know some people have done it on Bedrock, but I know it's not a vanilla Bedrock feature. Let's click on a whole bunch of stuff and see what happens. Click, 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 click. Yeah, I've pretty much clicked all my buttons. If you know how to do this, if you know how to set this up in Bedrock, please leave some detailed instructions in the comments. I'm sure other people would read and enjoy. Or if you're a YouTube creator, you know what? Create a video and leave a link in the comments. I'd love to learn how to do this. We're to tip number 24, and it is all about smelting. And I decided I would expand upon this smelting business. A bucket of lava is the best thing to smelt with. So I am so grateful that they gave us the dripstone, which allows us to make an infinite lava source. There you go. It's pretty cool. I like to use glass panes. Seems dangerous. I'm going to start with the lowly stick. Now I know for certain that it is going to take at least 2 to smelt a single ingot of iron. So we'll put 2 in there. For the coal, we're just going to put in 1. Just 1. See how many iron we get smelted out. Now, what if we have a block of coal? So just 1, put in the iron, see how it goes. Next up is dried kelp. And finally, we're going to do the bucket of lava. And this is where the hoppers really come in. So let's put 64 extra in there. And then over here, we're going to do one more little experiment. We're going to put in 2 sticks and 1 oak log. All right, let's give that a little bit of time to cook up. Everything is all smelted up. So let's see how many ingots each fuel source made. 2 sticks, 1 ingot. 1 piece of coal, 8 ingots. A block of coal, which is made from 9 pieces of coal. Whoa, 80 ingots. 1 block of kelp, 20 ingots. Interesting. And then how about the bucket of lava? Wow, 100 ingots. That's fantastic. And I got my bucket back. Now you might be wondering why I cooked up the single log. It's because 2 sticks and 1 single log makes a piece of charcoal. This equals 8 ingot, all from 2 sticks and 1 log. That's a pretty good deal, I think. Number 25 is using trapdoors instead of fences to trap livestock. Let's give this a go, shall we? Where's some livestock? Hey there, buddy. All right, you're in, no problem. Great. Oh, look, you're out. That was no problem. I think that's a bust. Did I miss something? Tip 26 is all about mob-proofing using azalea bushes. I don't recommend it. I mean, is this even a thing in Java? Is Avamance griefing all of us via a YouTube video? This has all gone terribly wrong. Number 27, ropes against a bridge. This is one I kept seeing and I thought there's no way it works in Bedrock. But apparently it does. I won't say it doesn't look sketchy. I don't know if I'd get on that bridge, but here's a way to do it. You go about 6 blocks out, dig 2 deep, put in a death boat, get your lead, attach the lead to a post, fill in the hole, and pop down a button. It's okay. It's Minecraft. There's always a level of disbelief. Tip number 28 was all about trapping villages, and that if you put them on a honey block, they can't jump out. Let's see if this works in Bedrock. In fact, do you need to be fenced in at all? Yes, they do need to be fenced in a little bit. To be honest, I think the honey block situation is more useful with baby villagers because you can keep them trapped in your setup while you wait for them to grow up and choose their profession. Number 29. You can place coral fan blocks on waterlogged trapdoors and they'll stay beautiful. How many of you saw the tutorial showing how to make a beautiful carpet, tried it in Bedrock, and got very, very sad? But don't despair. There are other types of coral. So although we may not be able to make the exact same carpet that was shown in other videos, we can at least decorate a little bit with the coral on waterlogged blocks. It's not a total loss. Maybe Bedrock people just like deeper carpet. Tip number 30 is all about ladders. Now, I was so excited when I saw that maybe I could be using trapdoors to make skinny little ladders. Sadly, that is seriously a Java thing. You cannot click, click, click. Try the other side. Click, click, click. You can't. Click, click, click. Nope. I even tried a bunch of fun ones like iron bars. Click, click. Stone wall. Click, click, click. And even glass pane, just in case. Click, click, click. Nothing. None of these work. Oh well. But I did find some funny things to put ladders on. So the jack-o'-lanterns and the beehives are pretty funny to put ladders on. And then another interesting fact, I suppose, is the bees, after they get their butts all pollinated, they can go into the hive, but unless you remove the ladder, they're trapped. They can't come out. So that's it. 30 plus tips and tricks specifically for Bedrock users. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I would love to hear in the comments which of these you didn't know or it was a refresher on. Was it nice to have a Bedrock specific tips and tricks video? I could make more. Regardless, major shout out to Avamance for creating videos like this for me to respond to. I know a lot of hard work goes into these, and my gameplay has definitely benefited from all the videos I've ever watched. Thanks everybody.